Hi, my name is Rob Goddard. I've been running businesses for decades, and this series of videos, The Unvarnished Truth, is designed to cut through the BS of business. Enjoy.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. No problemo.
Hi, my name is Rob Goddard, and I've helped hundreds of businesses over the past 20 years scale up their businesses. And one thing I want to share with you today is how to close more deals, which is a familiar cry from most businesses and most business owners. Closing more deals. And before I go into the 4 top tips and the 3 things to avoid like the plague, I just want to set the scene with pipelines, salesmen's pipelines. It's often been said that they share something with Eden Blight, and they are a work of fiction. Salesman's pipeline. I usually half the numbers that are in a salesman's pipeline because it's rose-coloured spectacles. It's definitely glass half full or glass double sometimes. So for prudency and caution, I always half the pipeline. And a pipeline, salesman's pipeline, should be a free-flowing river. There's a beginning, a middle and an end. There's a process. I find that often salespeople don't have a river, they have a reservoir with a dam, and it's stagnant water. Everything's in there. There's stuff going back yonks, ages, years sometimes, in the hope that someday it might magically convert into business. It doesn't. They're slow nose. It needs to be a flow. So 4 top tips as promised. And the secret to closing more deals is to go for the no. Go for the no. So the 4 top tips for going for the no. You've got to know your target audience and then pre-qualify. Don't start jumping in cars, picking up phone calls and start hitting the phones with people that you haven't pre-qualified or you haven't qualified at all, because they're usually going to waste your time, waste your energy and give you false hope. So that's top tip number 1, pre-qualify. Don't be tempted to see everyone. You've got to identify who you're going to pitch to and whether it's relevant. Number 2, top tip number 2 is to smoke out the objectives of the other person right from the off. As the coffee's been poured and you sit down, ask them, what would they like to get out of the conversation this morning or the chat this afternoon? What would they like to take away with them? What is a good outcome? Once they've told you, write it down. And in fact, I found that 1 in 3 people don't actually answer the question. They waffle on. They go on for minutes. And then at a convenient point, I interject and say, well, that's all very interesting, but you actually haven't asked them a question. What is a good outcome for you? So reroute it back to what you want to hear from them. What do they want to take away? Once they've told you, you tell them what your objective from the meeting is, because it's a 2-way process. It isn't a one-way thing. So make sure that you identify with them what you see as a good outcome for you. If there's an issue or a mismatch, then you can deal with it there and then rather than waste 2 hours of your time. So that's the second top tip. The third top tip is, and this is, I know, a controversial subject, always deliver price in that first interaction, whether it's on the phone or in a meeting. Why? Well, you don't want to waste your time pitching to someone, or even worse, doing months worth of follow-up if they haven't got the money. They need to know what their investment is going to be by engaging your services or buying your product. So always deliver price. And if you look at my LinkedIn profile, once you get confident, you see, you'll deliver price really early on, because you want to qualify people out that haven't got the money and can't afford you. You'll notice on my LinkedIn profile, I have a document there under my featured session. It's the first one you come across, how I work with people, and it has my various products and services and a price against each one. So I know that when I get contact from people, inquiries, they already know what I charge. So I've already qualified out people who can't afford what I do. The 4th and final top tip, and this is often missed, is to agree at the end of the first interaction, whether it's on the phone or in a meeting, is to agree the next steps with the person that you've been having a discussion with. and timings for follow-up. Don't leave it with them to follow you up, because guess what? No one returns a sales phone call. You have got to make that follow-up, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a quarter, whatever it is. And then once you do the follow-up contact, you can refer them back to that we agreed that you suggested I give you a call in whenever, and I'm now ringing you today. So those are the 4 top tips. Just for contrast and balance, these are the 3 things you must avoid if you want to close more deals. Number 1, never ever say to a prospect, I'll send you the proposal and you let me know what you think. Never, because no one returns a sales call. That is going to go into the abyss of potentials that 90% will never see the light of day. Never hand over the initiative to the prospect. Always retain that initiative. You will contact them at the agreed time and date, whenever that is. The second thing to avoid like the plague, and I've mentioned it before, is the avoiding of delivering price. You've got to know your value. You've got to know what is it that you do for them has value to them, and deliver it. Don't have a nervous voice. Don't take an intake of breath just before you deliver how much it's going to cost them. Be confident, be sure of yourself, and be positive. The third thing, and these 3 things are linked, as you'll see, the third thing to avoid like the plague if you want to sell more deals or achieve more deals is never charge for your time. They're not buying your time. They're not paying you by the hour. They're paying you for your last 20, 30 years experience, expertise, knowledge, contacts, whatever it is. They're not paying for your time, so don't charge by the hour and multiply it up. But if you want to establish what your value is to the other person, which is what you should be doing, you've got to ask lots of questions. 80% of the time in that meeting, they've got to speak, 20% you asking insightful questions to unlock where are the pain points, where are their problems, where are their issues, how can you improve their life by buying your products and services. And it's got to be meaningful, so it means that you've got to ask lots of questions and listen and write things down. Establish the pain. And I've always said to give a bit of guidance, particularly with business owners or salespeople in a service environment, service sector, you find it very hard to come up with a figure. You say, think of what's fair and reasonable, I tell them, and then double it. Because you can always come down from a very high price, can't you? An exchange and a negotiation for immediacy or whatever it is, or in exchange for something else. You can always come down. You can never go up from a low price. Always pitch for more than you think is fair and reasonable. Because I found, and this is a particular disease in the UK, British people undervalue what they can do and what they bring to the table. Don't do it. Charge more than you think is fair and reasonable, and then work with that figure. You never know. Sometimes you get away with it. They will pay you that. In fact, they might have been thinking of paying you more, because their pain and you being able to provide a solution is worth it. The value's there. So there you go. There's a few things. 4 things you must do, 3 things you mustn't do. If you're feeling bamboozled by all of this and you need a bit of a steer, email me or pick up the phone and we'll have a chat, because I've helped hundreds of businesses navigate their way through to better conversion rates and closing more deals.